Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining our live stream today. So we're gonna be talking all about the Faroe Islands, so our Faroe Islands campaign. I'm Lucas, work for Sea Shepherd Global's IT and Media Department. And today we have with us Samuel Rostøl, who has joined us from Norway. He's currently in the Faroe Islands and has been there for a few months now. Over this time, he's witnessed, I believe, 7 grins and just about 370 whales killed. But I'm sure he can tell you a lot more about his experiences because that's the idea for today. I will say we won't be sharing any graphic footage through this live stream, so you don't have to worry about that in case you are. So yeah, I wanna say hi to Samuel. So hey Samuel, welcome to the live stream.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So if you could tell the audience a little bit about yourself, perhaps, and your experiences on the islands.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name, as you said, is Samuel. I'm 37 years old, and I've been here now for about 2 months, and trying to document the grins that has happened here. I've been unlucky enough to see 7 separate grins, and I've been flying a drone, most of them, until the police officers seized my drone, and then I had to be on the beach. And I've done some live streams as well, and just regular filming. I'm right now at the very first beach that I ever witnessed a grind at, which is behind me here. It's called the Lanar Beach. It is, in a day like this, it is a stunning view. It is just an amazing place to be. But when there's a grind here, the whole ocean is just basically filled with blood, and it's a gruesome sight. I remember thinking that I would be here just to like see horrible events, and maybe even like just experience the bloodlust of people. But I've also met a lot of amazing people. So being here on the Faroe Islands is definitely like it's an experience of very big contrasts, like this natural beauty that you can see around me, contrasted with the blood-filled oceans and the killings of so many innocent animals. And it's weird. It's been both amazing and horrific at the same time. And I'm really like honored to have the opportunity to be here to do this work. But it's also work that I'm gonna bring with me for years to come, to see all these innocent individuals be just slaughtered and killed violently in front of me. So it's definitely been an experience that has changed me in many ways. And like every day is a new day. You're always like hoping that there will be no grin, but especially on days like this where where you can see far out to the ocean, people can see like a pod of whales from a huge distance, which makes it so easy for them to be spotted and to be killed. And the way it all works is that when a pod is spotted by local fishermen or local people just looking at the ocean, they call the grind, and boats come from everywhere, and they start just chasing the animals with the engines running, and that kind of creates like this sound barrier that the animals can't really swim by, and that pushes them in the direction of the boat that the boats want. And when they get close enough to shore, fishermen or swimmers or hunters run into the ocean with long ropes with metal hooks on the end. And this hook, they try to put it into the breathing hole of the whales. And then people on shore, they just pull the rope and drag them onto land. And then people are waiting with spears and knives. And this is the part where the blood starts flowing, and it's undescribable. The idea is, of course, that they used like some kind of a spear that they call a lance, to cut off the spinal cord, and then you can like the entire animal just goes basically limp and immobilized, and then they cut open the neck and let it bleed to death. And I don't know if you hear it, but there's some people working behind me right now, but I'm sure we'll be okay. But then they slaughter the animals, and they cut into parts and divide it up among the people who have participated in the hunt. And then they discard the pieces that they don't want, together with the fetuses that died in their mother's womb, and that's basically it. And after seeing 7 of those, I can surely say that the illusion of it being humane or animal friendly or nice or quick is just an illusion. These animals can be chased for hours, and they can be treated so badly. And we've seen pictures, and we've seen whales that have been run over by the engines, and we have seen. I mean, you can see when they come in also, like especially after the long chases, where they're just so exhausted, and they can't really put up a fight. So when the fishermen or the hunters come and put the hook in their breathing holes, some of them simply just give up, and they die while their mothers, sisters, uncles, their entire family just dies around them in a ocean filled with blood. So it's horrible to witness, and why I'm here is because I want to stop. I think that if we can do something good as humanity, is to stop the most brutal actions that are being taken towards animals, and this is definitely on the top of the list among the different traditions where violence towards animal is being legal in the country and practiced on a mass scale. And yeah. Whoa! Oh shit! I just fell to. I'm just gonna show you this because it's funny. I just stepped straight into that one. Whew. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. The reasons why they kill the whales is they claim it's a food source. And traditionally, that's been true for a very long time. They have been dependent on this as a food source for hundreds of years. And what we Okay, so I don't know if you guys heard the question, but the question was why did they hunt the whales? And according to like traditions here, they used to hunt them for food for a very long time, and of course people here claim that it's still for food. But what we've seen gradually is that less and less people eat it. And a big reason for that is the fact that mercury in the oceans and other PCBs has just gone through the roof and is basically now poisonous. But for hundreds of years, the whaling and the fishing industries here on the islands have sustained these people. And for them, it was something they did to survive. They rowed out in like wooden boats at mass to try to scare the whales into a bay and then kill them and then have a feast. But today, it's less and less people eat them. Like the last Grind that was here on Lanar, they had a problem afterwards that there were more whales hunted than there were people interested in the whale. So in the result was that they had to like send off whales and carcasses to different parts of the islands so that it would be eaten. And I think less and less people are eating it because of the toxicity. But traditionally it was because of the food source. But nowadays, I mean, in the Faroe Islands, they import food like every other country in the world. I've just been to the store today and I could see crocodile meat and bison meat and imported food from everywhere in the world. So now, after the rise in the mercury, it's basically just a tradition that they uphold because somehow, or some of them like the taste, I'm sure, but also it's partially because they liked having this old tradition and keep up and running. Oh, now I can't hear you, Lucas.
There we go. It's certainly a brutal thing to witness. Sorry about that. It's certainly a brutal thing to witness. What's going on in the Faroe Islands. I've been there a few times myself. Certainly not seen as much as you have. But yeah, but just to twist it a little bit, I know myself, I've gotten quite a few friends in the Faroe Islands, and I know you have talked to a lot of people up there and have had a lot of positive experience. Obviously, it's not everyone at all in the Faroe Islands that is even pro whale hunting. Could you tell us a little bit about your experiences in that direction?
Well, that's also very divided. I think that there are many people who are very, very for the hunt, and they defend it viciously. And I've been on the receiving end of that. But there's also quite a few people who are not supporting it, and who are like mostly silently opposing it, or at least discussing that they should stop it. I've spoken to people who think it's just like one of the latest conversations I had was people saying that they've changed the tradition so much now that it's a disgrace to the old ways. And I talk to a lot of younger people who say like I'm against it, but I don't talk about it, because if I do, then my uncle or my father or my family or my friends will in some way or another be angry with me, and I might not have that many friends left after that. And then there are others maybe more experienced in having like that type of debate, who do speak openly about it, but carefully. And mostly when they do, it's a health issue that they talk about. It's hard to say how many like percentages of the Faroese are against or for the grind. I know there are certain like studies that has talked about like how many people avoid eating it, and a lot of the females do avoid it. Apparently, like because of health reasons, like if you have a lot of toxins in your body, it leaches into your child if you ever have a kid. So the levels of opposing to the grins here on the Faroe Islands are quite low, and they're quite mellow. And most people, it seems, prefers to be against it in silence and oppose it quietly, which is not really that effective in my opinion. So that's also why I think it's so important that Sea Shepherd as a organization is here to speak for these animals, because there are no people, or not enough people, doing it here otherwise. And as long as that's the case, we just need to keep on doing this.
So it's fair to say that you're there because locals are being like told to not speak about it, or at least think they can't speak about it.
Oh, for sure. Like not just that, but we've also seen bullying. We have seen people, when they have spoken out, not even in favor of Sea Shepherd, which is like apparently a favorite thing to hate here, but just against like the bullying of other people who speak. Like there's so many times where people who has just like written simple sentences of being civil and not killing these poor animals, and people are just bullying them and screenshotting their posts and sharing it on hate groups, and associating these people with like treason and other, like a lot of ugly names. And in effect, this is of course stifling the debates. You can't have a good conversation about the grind here if the locals who are against it can't speak up, if they're bullied into silence every time they try. And I think that's maybe the saddest thing that I've seen. Like, so being me here for Sea Shepherd, and I've received my fair share of hatred and even physical abuse. I don't, like, you could argue that that's something that makes people watch it more, but I think it's really bad because the reason I'm here is because I want to end the grind. And if we are to end the grind, then we need people to dare to speak up. And when they see how I'm treated, I'm sure many people will be like, I can't speak up now because this is what happens. So yeah, it's quite depressing to see how harsh people are treated if they speak up against the grind. And I will be the first person to say, well, I don't need to come here if enough locals did that. So I'm crossing my fingers.
Right, right. So I have a question here from Ula, who's asking. She saw that you and some other volunteers invited some whalers for a talk in the middle of the capital. Did people come talk to you? How did that go?
No, we were. we invited people to come over, but nobody came within 3-4 hours. I think we sat there. And at the end of like when we figured out, well, nobody's going to come anyway, we decided to just leave the cafe. And then one man approached me and said, "Hey, you're not welcome here. You need to leave. And you're so," I don't remember the word, but he used a Christian reference. "You're so saved, or you're so sanctimonious that it's not even possible to speak to you." And he just kept repeating that while I was trying to have a conversation with him. But that was the first attempt, you know, and we've spoken to people more privately, and that's been no problem. And then approaching Sea Shepherd publicly isn't that easy, I would assume. So we're just going to have to keep trying.
So would it be a fair thing to say that it's more like people don't feel like they can come and speak to you, like if being seen with you, and this is an honest question, if people feel like they can't, like if they're seen with you in the islands, that might have some repercussions?
Well, I can only speculate when it comes to that, and I'm not sure, but I think that at least to a certain extent, people do prefer meeting, like the people that I have met, many of them has preferred to meet in a place and in a way where it can be not so public. And I think that's because like we don't have the best reputation here on the islands, and that's just something we got to work on. And it's also part of the work that we try to do now is just to try to repair those relationships. So just got to keep on trying, and maybe one day people will see Sea Shepherd for what we are, and we're trying to end this hunt, and that we can be a good group of people to cooperate with.
Sure, for sure. Show us. So the beach is where the last killing happened. That's where you are now, Lainar Beach.
Yes.
Can you tell us, like, where were you standing? What was going through? What was happening that day?
Well, it depends on, like, this was the last grind, so I'm going to turn the camera around, and I hope you see my hand now. I was standing basically, now it's low water, so I was standing about here and live streaming when they were killing these animals, or I was actually just filming, and then this guy came over to me. I'm just going to show you this view because it's so stunning. But this guy came over to me when I was filming and saying, "Hey, you can't be here." And then he started like touching my camera and touching my equipment, and just being in my face all the time. And he basically stopped me from filming anything. And that was the point where I took up the camera to do a live stream, and just live streamed the interaction that we had together. And like this beach is, as I said, it's amazing in regular weather, but as soon as a hunt starts, it's just horrific. And see if I can show you now. So what they do is they lay out these like ropes with the hooks all over the beach, and then depending on where like in the water the whales come and beach, they run to that direction and start hooking up the animals. And I think like all of this here now, this area here was underwater, so this is where the actual whales were beached, and then the water was coming to this point here. And I think I was standing somewhere around here when the fisherman came over, or the local came over, and started to like put his hands in my face and started shoving me backwards to get me away from the beach itself. And and I just, as you might have seen if you saw that live stream, I just picked out the camera and put it on myself, and I explained the situation so that everybody can see. So this is the Lainar Beach, it's called, and there's been 3 grinds at this location during these summer months that I've been here. I can't remember exactly how many, but around 150, 160 animals at least, I think, here. And they've all just been like displayed out on this beach, and then being pulled around this bay over here to a local harbor where they slaughter them. So this is it. And on a good day like this is what you see. And on a bad day, like when the grind happens, it was just like the whole ocean is just covered with blood.
Right. So we have some questions here. So obviously, I'm going to expand on a question here. Cindy is basically asking something along the lines of here that the locals often say that every part of the animal is used. What has your experience been with that? Is that relatively true? Have you seen like animals dumped? Sea Shepherd has documented in the past, like big cranes where they take the bits of the whales, even one whole whale at one point, and dumped it back into the ocean. Do you have any experience with that kind of thing?
Yeah, like every whale hunt that I've been a part of, they have slaughtered the animals. Mostly like cut away all the edible parts with the eat is like the meat and the blubber part. Um, they claim themselves to cut away about 65% of the body weight, and then the rest is bones and intestines and head and unedible parts. And they claim to use everything, but if you read like older quotations of how they used to use these animals, they used to use both the heads and the fins and the tails. They use like parts of they used everything before. Now it seems that they're taking the prime cuts, like the easy accessible big chunks of meats and blubber, and using that. And of course, if there is like sick animals, and there are quite a lot of animals now with like tumors and deformations and different, they avoid those parts as well, which I think is quite common in today's world. They just cut around it, and then they dump what's left. And one of the places where they have a dumping location, like usually there are two options: either you take it on a truck and you drive it to a location, or you just tow it out into the ocean. And the very last Grin that was here, we were there always. So I think that might be a reason why they decided to just tow them out to the ocean somewhere here and just dump it. So somewhere along these lines here, there's probably a dumping location with a lot of carcasses. The time before that, which is the second Grin that was on the very beach here, they took it the other way around. I don't know if you noticed, but this way around here, there's a dumping location where there's like a crack in the mountain and the road is very near it. So they can dump it and it lands in the water and it feeds basically the fish and the crabs in the ocean. And the one time that they did that, when they saw that we were there ready to film with the drone and with the cameras, they called the police. And since that was quite far away from everything else, everything we were doing was legal. The police just came, they stalled us for a moment, and then they had to leave us be. And then the truck just returned back to the bay, and they dumped them during the night and said, well, we couldn't film. So the idea that they use everything, it's not true anymore. Like I did a live stream not too long ago where I like went through all the different whales, and you can see there was quite a lot of meat still left on them. There's still quite a lot of blubber that they could have eaten. The heads are untouched, the fins are untouched. I think it's a myth. It's an old myth that they did used to use all of the animals, but nowadays it's just the prime cuts that is taken away.
I have another question here. Again, I'm just gonna try to formulate it in a way that makes sense. But there's basically a
Yes.
lot of people saying that what is the real difference between this and any other animal killing? I know personally that you're an animal rights activist, and this is not exactly your first rodeo in this sense. But what is for you different with this, or the similarities for that matter?
Well, first of all, I agree with that, like with the idea that if you support other killing of other animals, then this shouldn't be viewed as too much of an issue. But at the same time, there's this really big disconnect. Like this is one of the most violent methods that we have today for killing animals. Most people, even people who eat meat, would agree that the running of the bulls in Spain, or the big arenas where they kill bulls with spears, that's a tradition that should be banned because it's so violent. And I think that if we could, as humanity, agree on like let's just abolish the most violent practices at the very least, then we can move somewhere. Right now, every meat industry in the world looks at halal slaughter or or kosher slaughter, and they say, well, we're doing better than them at least. We're not. We're actually, the animals are unconscious when they die. Well, this slaughter right here is unconscious. They're conscious. They stab a spear through the neck of the animal, and then it's immobilized, but it's not dead. It dies of either suffocation or drowning, or like when the blood doesn't flow to the brain anymore. And so, to me, this is just a modern version of halal slaughter, or not even modern. It's traditional, just as halal is. And I think that as humanity, we would win so much by having the most violent practices towards animals abolished. And I think, but I wouldn't bat an eye in agreeing that slaughterhouses are terrible. Like the way we treat animals in industry farming is terrible. But as long as industry farms can point at boiling dogs in China, or Taiji, or Faroe Islands, or kosher, or halal, then they will just say, well, we're at least not the worst. So I think that abolishing those most violent traditions or most violent practices is so important, and this is definitely one on the top. Seeing how, like, I've been present when they slaughtered like a young, very, very young calf, newborn, within a few days or weeks before they killed him. You could still see the fetal folds on it. And seeing that, how they just pulled him up with a hook that was too big for its blowhole, and just put it on the beach and hold it down and stab it in the neck while it was still flopping its tail and just bleeding to death. Like, after you see that, you just realize this is not a way that we can accept. This is not a way to handle animals. These are sentient beings. They kill entire families in the blood of their own siblings. And, well, just to reiterate, all slaughter is bad. All killing is bad. I don't think we should do any of them. But I definitely think that we should focus on the worst and the most violent traditions that there are in this world.
That's right. That's also why many people will probably know that you yourself are vegan. Have been for quite a bit of time. All Sea Shepherd ships are also vegan. So it's we very much practice what we preach here in Sea Shepherd.
Yeah.
There's a common perception, and this is also taken kind of out of the comments here. There's a common perception that the Faroe Islands and the inhabitants there are like very primitive, or like a poor island nation that like barely survives. Um, I can only call it very, very wrong, but I want to hear your perspective as well.
Oh, and thank you for that question, whoever brought that up. I think it's very, very wrong. It's completely wrong. The Faroese are just like every other people in the world. They just have this one tradition that is really bad. But when you speak to them, they are mostly like nice and gentle people towards me. Whatever they did to the animals, they're nice towards me. They're educated. They are polite. This idea that the Faroese are barbarians and simple and all of that, it just doesn't fit with reality. And I think it does, like, people who use that kind of rhetoric, I think it does the animals a disfavor, because I think that we're ending up alienating the people that we really want to have on our team. Because what we see now is that we can't really end this hunt without the Faroese on our team, at least the Faroese that are against the Grin. And if we keep repeating the idea that this entire island nation is filled with people who are simple-minded or barbaric or whatever, I think we're just like halting the progress that we could have. But yeah, like I've been like there was a man during one of the live streams that threw a rope on me and tried to steal my phone.
Yeah, I think we lost your audio a little bit there, Samuel. Maybe you need to plug in your microphone.
He didn't like that I was there, but we could have a nice conversation and talk to each other like two grown-ups. And he invited me for a barbecue. Of course, partially, I guess that was to spite me. Like, I'm gonna barbecue this way later so you can come. But at least he was engaging in a conversation. And I think at this point, like, I just had, in the end, that was a nice conversation. I could ask him for some help of understanding what I was watching on the beach, and he told me. And like, for every day I've been here. Okay, I'm just gonna see. I heard that my mic is struggling. It might be the water from falling into the. I'll just disconnect the mic for a second. And is the sound better now?
Pretty good. I think so. Can you hear me?
Continue then until I get a message. Otherwise, but most people that I've met here has been super nice to me, and they've been polite. And I would just argue that the people who think that this nation is filled with bad people or bad ideas or people who don't care about anything, they're just wrong. I think whatever we do now, we should be focusing on how we can help these pilot whales, this dolphin species. How can we help them in the future so that these hunts won't happen again? And if we want that, we need to work like as a team, everybody doing what we believe in. And I honestly, personally believe that if this hunt is ever going to be stopped, then we're going to have to do it together with the Faroese, and they are mostly nice people with an amazing nature and a very old. They're just misinformed when it comes to the pilot whale hunt, and so let's all just work together. Let's all just try to stop it, and the way to do it, I think, is having an informed debate about it without like nasty language either way. One of the things that I've also seen is that when we use nasty language towards people, they end up being nasty back, and then we just throw that ball back and forth, and we forget the animals. And I want to keep remembering the animals. I want to put the animals in focus, and that's why I'm here. And yeah, that's what I want to happen. So I hope we'll just be on the same team and pulling together for the whales, no matter where we are in the world. So I think I'm not hearing anyone on the other side, so I'm going to round it up, and maybe Lucas will end with some words. But thank you so much for following this live stream. And if you had fun when I fell into the crevice, or if you learned something new, put a comment in the comment section, and we'll continue the conversation there. I appreciate a lot that you've been here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm sure people over the world, especially in the Faroe Islands, will enjoy you having a little tumble there. But I'm sad you can't hear me, but it is what it is. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining our stream today. We're going to wrap it up for now, but we're definitely going to be doing more streams in the future. We're looking at doing a lot more streams with both our campaign leaders, with our ships, everything in the future. So make sure you follow our platforms and stay in touch. And of course, yeah, whatever you want to do, you can support us on our website, seashepherdglobal.org, seashepherduk.org. Any of these sites helps tremendously. So thank you so much. And thank you, Samuel. I'm not sure if he can see us there. Yeah, he can. So thank you so much for joining.